Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, CesarRespino. Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, CesarRespino, and you can find me at www.CesarRespino.com. Today, I have a special guest. His name is Magic Brad Gudim. How are you, Brad?
I am doing wonderful. How are you?
I am doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate your presence and cannot wait to hear about your story and a lot of things you've gone through in your life.
63 years.
Wow, that is amazing. That is amazing. So let me get started by introducing you. So Magic Brad has been a self-employed most of his life. He got his start at a very young age as an entertainer, magician, performing for private parties and company events. He then moved into the event production and digital marketing. And we're definitely going to talk about this. You faced a bankruptcy in 1998 and a minor stroke in 2012. So I can already tell this is going to be a good conversation. Just, a lot of the people that are listening to this, they want to get into or are already in the space of entrepreneurship. And being you doing this for so long, I know you have some really good golden nuggets. So why don't we start by telling us more about you? Where are you from? And what is your upbringing like?
Well, I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota, still here now. I did take a couple of years, went to LA and a couple of years in Asheville, North Carolina, but came back to Minneapolis, Minnesota, grew up there, actually 53 years in the same house where my brother still lives.
Wow.
Parents are deceased, but he's still there. And then I got married, moved to the west side, and then we moved down to Asheville, North Carolina for a couple of years, and then came back to good old Minneapolis. But my interest started when a friend of my brother's made a quarter disappear when I was about 4 or 5 years old, and he pulled it out of my ear, and it just got me fascinated with the whole magic thing. I thought, what is that? That was really cool. So I started dabbling in magic as a hobby, and that kind of went into grade school, then into high school, and I actually started doing some shows at churches and hospitals, making a little bit of money. And I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit as a kid. I was the kind of kid that would buy the candy in bulk and then resell it to my classmates at a profit. Or I used to use my dad's pipe cutter, and I'd make rings and then I'd cover them with yarn and sell them to the girls.
Oh, that's very creative, though, by the way.
But I've always been pretty entrepreneurial, and the event industry has always been part of my upbringing too, because I used to turn our garage into a movie theater, and we'd sell popcorn for $0.25 and charge the kids $0.25 to see the show, and hang a sheet up on the back of the garage and play the old Super 8 movies of like The Bride of Frankenstein or I Was a Teenage Werewolf and all those Abbott and Costello, all those old movies that we had.
Yeah. One thing that's interesting is like I've talked to a lot of people, and a lot of times we as kids want to, we have a vision, we have a dream of who we want to be as we grow up. And not oftentimes the things that you think as a kid come out to be reality for many, right? Some people want to be police officers or pilots. I'm speaking for myself. And, that never came to be the reality. For you, you got the idea of, I kind of like this entertaining or magic stuff, and you kind of carry that on. So I'm interested on knowing how you were able to follow that passion.
Well, I actually got derailed because people told me, you should get a job when I graduated. I graduated high school in 1975, barely, C's and D's.
Yep.
And I got a job with the county parks department, and I worked about 3 years, and I got laid off, and I thought, hey, where's my gold watch? I thought I had a job here.
Right.
So I thought, well, I need to learn something, like learn a trade. So I studied drafting and design. And I ended up doing like electromechanical drafting. I probably should have went the architectural route now that I think about it, but
Right.
I did that for a little while. And then I thought, you know what? I don't like doing this job thing. I want to be self-employed. So I thought I'll be a magician. And I knew early on that I wanted to work like corporate events and association conventions because that's where the money was.
Mm-hmm.
They had an audience, they had a budget. So I started targeting all the Minneapolis here. We got a lot of corporations. We got Medtronic, 3M, Honeywell, Pillsbury, General Mills, Best Buy, Mayo Clinic, a lot of corporate here. So that's what I would do is I'd do their awards banquets and their company parties. And then I got tired of chasing the event planners, always looking for new work. So I created a trade show for event planners to come and find everything they needed. So these event planners from all these corporations would come there every year and look for caterers, balloon decorators, staging, lighting, limousine services, hotels and casinos. And by strange coincidence, there was only one magician there.
You.
So that was my lead source. And I did that for many years. 1999, I started in like 1990-ish, around there. Did it to 1998, and that's when everything collapsed. That was when the internet kind of came along.
Right.
And it disrupted the industry, and I panicked, and I brought on a couple employees. And I would suggest to anybody, don't have a 3-person business because one person will play you off, possibly, you know, if they're a little bit corrupt. Kind of like a little kid does to mom and dad, you know. Mom said I could. Mom said I could.
Yeah.
So that's what this guy did to me. And he took some money out of the account and started saying things about me to her and her to me. And
playing that game for sure.
Yeah. And it all fell apart. And I said, I don't want to be in business anymore. So I took my sleeping bag, rolled it up in a ball, and I went out to California with a friend of mine that had a martial arts school, and he was trying to build something kind of like the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted me to help him with his events. So I moved out there and did that, and spent a year doing that. And then I spent a year with the Magic again over in Studio City, working on an infomercial to how to do magic tricks. And we did that project. And then the project was over, and I was out in LA going, now what am I going to do? So I came back to Minneapolis, and I didn't want to do anything. And this friend of mine used to call me up and say, Brad, we should do shows together. And I go, I don't want to do anything. I just want to play on my laptop and drink coffee and look at girls. I don't want to work. But he talked me into it. He's a good sales guy. So we started doing home improvement and design expos, local home shows, the windows, doors, sidings, bathroom remodeling and all that. And the problem was with him and I, we sort of didn't have the same vision. He kind of wanted to have a business as a job. I wanted to have a business as a company where I could step out and kind of manage it and have my freedom. And so we didn't really agree on things, and it just got stressful. We were doing 12 shows a year. And that's when the stroke thing happened. It was just a minor stroke, but it was a shot over the bow telling me, what the heck you doing here? So I was at a networking event, and I came home with a handful of business cards. I was looking out the window, and it felt like someone did this to me. And I turned around, and there was nobody there. I thought, what the heck was that? So I go to my wife. I said, something weird just happened. She goes, why are you talking funny? I go, I'm not talking funny. He says, what do you do with your hand? She thought I was going to do a magic trick. I said, I don't know. It feels kind of weird. And that lasted about 3 minutes. And then I was gone. I went and had the doctor had my head scanned, and they said, you had a transient ischemic attack. I go, what the heck is that? She goes, that is a mini stroke. What? A stroke? Me? So what happened with that was that stress kind of crept up on me. I wasn't eating good. I wasn't exercising. I was working a lot. The mind was busy with confrontation and stuff. And I had that little stroke, and I thought, well, I don't want to die yet. So I told my business partner, I quit. I'm not going to die in this office. And that's when I just learned I needed to be more entrepreneurial and digital and be more of a freedompreneur. And so I resigned from that. But I took all that knowledge and I still use it on the internet as far as event marketing. Yeah.
I got to tell you, there's a couple of things that you talked about it that I really want to dive in deeper. And one thing you talked about, and even just kind of listening to you, is you have that preservation, like regardless of what was going on, you kept moving forward, or you were chasing, whether it's a dream or a lot of times we talked about what is my why, what is my purpose, right? And so you were kind of chasing that even after going through bankruptcy, after having that struggle, you still were trying to chase something. So I guess my question to you in regards to that is, like, what has been one of your biggest lessons throughout that journey? Because it is a journey, right? I mean, a lot of people want that overnight success or want to be able to have that, yet it's a journey that you have to pay if you want to be in this space. So what have been some of the biggest lessons you've taken that you can share with our audience?
Well, I think part of it was I got a black belt in Taekwondo, and it teaches you to keep going. A lot of people drop out around purple belt, brown belt, because it gets to be a little bit tougher. And the perseverance thing, and I've always kind of understood that you can't fail if you don't quit. And was it Wayne Gretzky, I think, that said you miss 100% of the shots you don't take? Something like that.
I think so. Yep.
So I figured if you just keep going, I'm not going to just roll over and die. So I might as well keep moving. So that's kind of it. That if you just keep going, even like I mentioned this morning with I got a upgrade of my old phone and my new phone. It's frustrating, but you just keep going. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that. I mean, I know to an extent, even, I had never in my life, I think it was like 3 years ago, if I remember correctly, 2019, so no, 2018, that I had never experienced panic attacks or anxiety attacks or any of that nature. And I think I came to realize that for me, when I stepped out of the corporate world and into the entrepreneurial space, it's a different type of stress. It's a different type of levels. It's all different to itself, right? And some people deal with that in one way. Some people deal with that in a different way. Except I remember for almost a 2-year span, I was going through a lot of panic attacks that I've never experienced before, a lot of anxiety attacks. And out of nowhere, it was just hitting me. And I came to realize that part of that was also being able to step out of what was comfortable to me into something that was uncomfortable. And if I wanted to continue to be in this place that was so-called uncomfortable, I had to start finding the means and the way to start getting comfortable with this new beginning or this new life that I chose. Otherwise, it was going to take me back to what was not serving me in the past. And I think coming to the realization of that allowed me to not deal with any of that anymore. I definitely have inducted other things now that help me calm the mind and focus more on the present now versus worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow and all these things, right? And I think it's part of that. Like, what is your purpose? What is your why? Why did you start doing something to begin with? And where do you want to be, right? And so for you, what is your biggest, or what is the one thing, or maybe a couple of things that you want to leave behind? Like we talk about, what is going to be your legacy, right?
That's a really, really deep question, because that elusive why, some people think that you can nail it down, but you really can't, because once you come up with your why, like the reason I'm doing this is because I want to help feed the starving children in a certain country. And if you ask that question again, why, then you got to go, well, why do I want to feed these? So that question of why never ends. And that's kind of life. You just got to keep going, keep going, keep going. So I think the thing is the perseverance of just realizing that things are going to change. You got to adjust the sails, just keep going. And as long as you have something that inspires you and pulls you through, some kind of goal that you're reaching for, because it's going to change. I want to make $1 million. Why? Well, because then I can have my Lamborghini. Okay, well, why? Well, the girls would see me driving it, and maybe I'll find the girl in my dream. And eventually you find out what's really going on, and you get a little closer to where you're going. So I think it's elusive. You just need to keep on going forward, and you're going to stumble over things. I still run into it. I mean, I was thinking, you know what? Maybe I should just get a job just recently. And the reality is it isn't one or the other. I think you can have a job. Like for a while, I drove for Lyft. And I looked at it almost as therapy. I'm just driving around, thinking my entrepreneurial thoughts. I'm still getting paid when I'm delivering someone. So maybe you can have a little part-time job and then do your dream thing on the side. But the key thing is, what do you want to do? And my thing really is freedom. I want to have the freedom to go where I want, when I want, and how I want. And that's why I keep doing what I'm doing, the freedom.
Yeah. One thing that I forget who this was, and I read this on the Millionaire Success Habits by Dean Graziosi, and he talks about the 7 levels of why. And kind of going back to that, you asked, why do you want to be an entrepreneur? And let's just say that's the really first question. Then you start asking 7 times a follow-up to that why. And then once you get to the 7 why in his literature, he talks about how you're really going to identify that true purpose, that true why. Because sometimes on the surface, we feel like, well, I want to make $1 million because I want to, like I said, I want to drive the Lamborghini. But that's not really the reason why you want to do that. There's something deeper, right? And I like that exercise. Definitely, anybody can definitely check that out. It's called the level 7 whys, and it can definitely get you to identify that at a much deeper level. One thing you mentioned earlier is vision. So I want to get to that because people sometimes do not understand what that really means. And so if you can elaborate, what is vision and what does that really stand for as we are human beings in this journey that I call life?
To me, vision is that thing that's out there a ways that gives you a reason to go there. Like if I'm here in Minneapolis and I decide I want to go to California, I got to have the vision, where am I going? Because if I just go, I might end up in Florida or someplace else where there's palm trees. If my vision is palm trees, I might end up in Bali. So I got to know where my vision is. And that's part about, like, your vision is kind of your goal. You have it out there, you know where you want to go with it. So where I'm at is I'm very conscious that my vision for myself is freedom. I don't want to do the hourly type of compensation, because then I only get paid when I'm like, as far as the magical entertainment, you only get paid when you're on the stage. I want to be able to get paid while I'm walking down the beach with my wife. I want to get paid while I'm sleeping or while I'm at dinner or while I'm seeing a movie. So having that residual type of recurring income coming in, and then the ability to do it from my phone so I can move around. I don't want to have to be stuck where I got to have a cord with my computer, my laptop. It's heavy. I want to be able to move around and do what I want to do. So I think that's where having the vision and being clear of what it is that you want. Because if you have the vision of running a business and like a restaurant, I hope you realize you're going to have to be there. Unless you're going to be able to get a manager and have someone else do it so you can step out. But then you've got a restaurant, you got the money, but you're not at the restaurant. So why do you want a restaurant? Why didn't you start some other business? So getting real clear with your vision, I think, is really, really important. And again, it's an elusive thing. You never know. I might want to do the restaurant business, then I might want to do a hot dog cart out at the mall.
Right. I forget who said this. I don't know if it was Earl Nightingale or maybe Jim Brown. Nevertheless, if you get on this ship and you're in the ocean and you don't tell where you're going, the ocean's endless, right? There's so much. There's just so much, right? And so if there's no specific direction, you're just going to be going around and around and around because there's no end destination. So it's kind of like what you're talking about. You have to kind of have an idea of where do you want to be, how you get there. That's you leave that to a different power than you. It's just understanding where I want to be in a year from now, in a month from now, and whatever that period of time, and then just kind of start working towards that aspect of your life, right?
I bet it was Jim Rohn, because he said something about you can't control the wind, but you can adjust the sails.
Yeah. Most definitely. I listen to a lot of them, and I sometimes forget. So, so you do strategy and consulting to create more time and freedom, right? So, who do you work with? Do you do individuals? You work with businesses, or how does that work?
I work with anybody. Usually businesses are individuals that are within the business. Just here's an example of, this isn't really an example of saving time. Well, it is a crunching time a little bit. When I got out of high school, like I mentioned, I was doing design drafting. I was doing like printed circuit boards and things. And I was working for a company called Control Data that used to be here in Minneapolis. And they had a printed circuit board. You'd put it in like this and it worked fine, a little connector. But if you flipped it around like this, it still fit, but it would short circuit the computer and blow up the computer, losing millions of dollars. So what I did was I adjusted one of the screws on one side a little bit bigger so that when it hit the little runner, it couldn't go in this way. It could only go in this way. So all I did was adjusted the part number from a 003 to a 004, and it took me, what, 15 seconds to erase the 3 and put in a 4? Yep. That saved millions of dollars.
Wow.
So that's an amount of crunching time. Do you want to rebuild an entire computer, or you want to swap out a screw? Another thing is I've got, I think I mentioned, a martial arts background. So usually people's knees go bad after a while. And what I do in the morning when I shave in the shower. So I got a mirror in the shower, and I lowered it down to chest view. So I have to do a squat every morning when I shave. So that strengthens my knees. So how that saves time is I no longer need to drive to the gym and do my leg lifts and my squats at the gym and then come back.
Interesting.
I'm building it up in the shower because I got a shower. I got a shower anyways.
Yeah.
Same thing with when I take the dog out. When I walk back up the steps, instead of walking in the elevator, walk up the steps, and I take 2 steps at a time. So it keeps my knees strong.
Yeah. I love that. And, it's definitely getting that creativity and getting creative, and beyond getting creative is just doing things differently. And again, Jim Rohn is one that I love a lot. And he talks about, for things to change, you have to change, right? So you have to start making some of those changes that maybe nobody else is doing, yet if it serves you a purpose, like in this case, I love that. I mean, I definitely got to start doing some of those things because again, it is going to get some time back, and it's going to also serve a different purpose in your own journey, which is pretty awesome.
It's like multitasking, I guess you could call it,
right?
That. But I kind of make it a game too. Like sometimes I'll try and do 3 steps at a time. What the heck,
Yeah.
I'd be careful so you don't fall down the stairs, but sometimes just have fun with it.
Yeah. That's awesome. And so if people wanted to connect with you, where can they find you?
Well, what I've done is I branded the name Magic Brad.
Okay.
So for me, the easiest way is just Google the keyword Magic Brad, and my job is to try and make it out there as much as I possibly can and cover as much real estate with that word Magic Brad. And you might find a couple other magicians like Magic by Brad or something like that. But if you're looking for marketing and time bending and things like that, you'll eventually find me. And I'm on LinkedIn and Pinterest and Zoom and all that
social
stuff.
Media stuff.
Yes, sir. It's just keyword. That's all the internet really is words and links.
Right. Yeah, definitely. So besides those 2 tips that you talked about, which I think is kind of nice to do that, is there anything you do on a day-to-day basis to just kind of put you in a different state of mindset that you are practicing every day?
Unfortunately, I try to meditate, but it's hard. It's really, really hard to stay on that thing. I put stickers on my mirror in the bathroom because I look at some things. I look at constants and variables.
Okay.
Constants are you need to eat, you need to shower, you need to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
You have to do that. You do it every day. So if you can rely on that constant, and then I can change out the sticky notes. I got one now. It says play to win as opposed to like playing to lose, playing to not lose. It's just a different mindset. It's the same outcome, but playing not to lose is a different mindset than playing to win.
Yeah.
Same outcome, but it's looking at it differently. So I got a sticker up there to remind me to think that way.
Yeah.
So I think that would be it.
Yeah, talking about that, one thing that I think we tend to forget, and I'm actually in the middle of writing another book right now that's going to be coming out in about a month or so, and it's you can overcome anything when you exercise the mind, right? And it's all about understanding how the mind is very powerful, and you talk about the mindset and just kind of changing those dynamics. I want to get your many years of experience where maybe you might have neglected how powerful the mind is, and now realizing how that has really impacted you or can actually impact you in a positive way and really change, what will be the outcome that you're seeking for.
Well, I started martial arts in traditional Taekwondo, and up above the flags, we had a motto, which was Jongsun Ildo Hasabosang. And that's Korean, and it means if you put your mind to it with enthusiasm and persistency, nothing is impossible. So I agree, the mind is very, very powerful to be able to just do things. And to me, it's a matter of just shifting your perspective. Like if as an example of perspective, here, hey, I'll do a little magic trick for you. I like this. See these two fingers, this one and this one is about the same size?
Yeah.
From your point of view. From my point of view, this one looks longer than that one.
Oh.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
See? Perception. Yeah. But that was a trick. That was a sleight of hand trick.
Yeah.
But the concept of shifting your mind, I've got 3 DWIs under my belt. I haven't drank anything for about 20, 25 years. I don't remember how long, but I don't touch the stuff anymore. Mm-hmm. But the first one, it was blame. You know, it was the cops and it's the judge and all that. Second one, same kind of thing. Third one, I saw the lights go on in the back of the rearview mirror. Mm-hmm. I said, I quit. I just quit. So I didn't do the therapy and all that stuff. I just said, I quit. So it's a mindset thing when all of a sudden you just make a decision. And to me, there's a difference between choice and a decision. Choice, you can change it. Decision, the word comes from like to cut off or to kill off, like suicide, pesticide, homicide. So decide. When you decide, I decided I don't drink alcohol. So I'm not tempted by it. I don't do it. It's not something I do because I made a decision as opposed to making a choice.
That's interesting. Yeah, one thing, it's funny you mentioned that I think definitely one thing that I tell people, which is along those lines, and I think is the same, to an extent is similar. I tell people that the decisions we made today will determine the quality of life that we're going to have tomorrow, right? And so it is important for us to evaluate or look at the decisions or what we're going to be creating today, because that is going to impact our future tomorrow. And there's always consequences. Obviously, if you realize that maybe you might have made a decision that was not on your favorite, you got to be able to go back and rectify that as quickly as you can. You cannot go back and fix it. I mean, it's already, that decision was already made, except you could adjust and you can start shifting that energy into a more positive outcome. And that's the beauty of that just because you made a decision today that maybe is not serving you a good purpose does not mean that you have to live with that decision. You can definitely start shifting. And I believe that that's where a lot of people tend to say, well, you know, I did this, I did that. And they start using that blaming game or whatever the case may be, become the victim, right? It's in the drama cycle, you know, we become the victim of our environment. We become the victim of whatever's going on. And then because of that, we don't get out of that to making that positive outcome in the near future. And so definitely, I believe that decisions, mindset, all of that is going to help you or help anybody be able to just kind of push through in this journey.
Well, it's like that sailboat concept. As you're moving along in the sailboat, the wind is changing everything. You're making decisions with the sail because you got your destination out there where you're going with that sailboat. You know where you're going. You got that vision of where you're going, and the wind's going to change, and you got to adjust the sail. So you're making mini decisions. Do I move the sail this way or this way? And it just toggles as you're moving through this ocean of time.
Yeah, definitely. Brad, if there's anything that you can tell us, let's say somebody is going through some sort of challenge, whatever that challenge might be, what is one thing that they can do to start overcoming that challenge?
One thing you could do is look at the vastness of the universe, and you'll find out how insignificant your little problem is.
Okay. Yeah.
Because when you look at just our community, you know, there's me, and there's millions of other people in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And there's millions more in the United States, millions more in other countries. And then you go and take the Earth and you jump onto, you know, what is it, Elon Musk trying to go to Mars or something, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Then there's Mars, and that's just the solar system. And then that's just the one sun. Stare up in the sky, look at all them stars. Those are billions of other solar systems. So your little problem is pretty insignificant. So, you know, move on, will you?
Yeah, I love that. I definitely love that. Wow, no, that's awesome. Brad, I had a really good time. Is there anything else that you want to say to us before I let you go?
I'm looking forward to doing this with anybody else. I think it's really important, especially in these COVID times right now. If anybody wants to get on a Zoom call or just a visual call like this. Mm-hmm. Where are you located? You in LA?
LA, yep.
Yeah. So who knows if I ever get out there? I got a buddy out in San Diego, and I've got some ideas to do out there. Maybe we could hook up and meet in person. But other than that, I'd love to just be able to Zoom with people because, quite honestly, this is a COVID thing. I'm more of an introvert, but still, I like to go to the mall and people watch. You can't do that anymore. There's nobody around.
Yeah, exactly. No, definitely.
Let's connect.
Yeah. So there you go. Definitely connect. Make sure you look him up on Google. And definitely connect with Brad. So Brad, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you.
Peace. Thank you.
Definitely. And for the rest of you guys, do me a favor. Please make sure you comment, like, and share this podcast episode. And stay tuned for the next episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. Bye.
Hi, I'm CesarRespino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.CesarRespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. And know you truly can overcome anything.